Chinese investment in Africa's tech infrastructure continues to gain momentum. In most cases, Chinese developed technologies and innovation are now supporting the network infrastructure in several African countries. MTN and Vodacom are some of the top telecommunications players in South Africa using Chinese-built technology. CGTN's Sumitra Naidu brings us more on this story.
African countries have realized the need for technological transformation and the benefits thereof for innovation, job creation and improved efficiencies. These African countries are turning to China to help them advance.
The relationship between China and Africa in the tech sector dates back at least 10, 15 years. And the largest project were launched back in 2005. And were mostly in the sector of infrastructure. Over the years, China has developed a relationship with almost every country in the continent. So there are many different layers in this relationship. The main one for a long time has been infrastructure development.
While Chinese brands like Huawei and ZTE have expanded their footprint across the continent, other Chinese companies are also creating easier access to new technologies by keeping products and services affordable.
Most of the times when it comes to any product, it is usually at a price point that leaves out some people. And in the case of Africa, we happen to be the some people. We don't have, all of these fancy things that we see in Europe and in America, because the price point here comes along now, China, with this technology that's taken advantage of this economy of scale and the rapid improvement of tech in using computers, that it gets to a price point that starts becoming compelling for us at a price for our pocket that we can afford.
China has invested heavily in 5G and Huawei is a big supplier in South Africa. Rain, a new player in the market, is also making 5G available to the lower income market, creating more affordable access.
The like of Huawei, again, have invested in 5G technology before many other big players. And there was a kind of like a perception, a strategic perception that it was going to be very difficult to compete on existing technology, 3G and 4G, because these was already being deployed by, let's say, legacy companies and Ericsson, Alcatel, and so forth.
The demand for new technologies is growing across the continent, and China is at the forefront of assisting with this transformation. Policy, though, remains a hurdle for some of these countries, delaying urgent investment and development. Sumitra Naidu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Let's now bring in our guest, Ovigwe Ogwego, a policy advisor at Development Reimagined, an international development consultancy. He joins us live via Zoom from Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us. Just speak to us about how rapid advanced technological development has contributed to China's economic boom.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So if you go back to just about when China was opening up, you would see there was an influx, of foreign direct investment and also technological cooperation between China and several Western countries, particularly the US and European countries, and that significantly contributed, to making China a manufacturing powerhouse in the world. So when we think of China today as that major economic superpower, it's against the backdrop of technological advancement that, from Chinese own innovation and also technological cooperation, which has really given China that manufacturing, capacity. In in recent decades, you will see that even Chinese innovation has really shined through in particular, sectors like supercomputing, telecommunication, like we know with the popular 5G, where Huawei is a leading, equipment provider, robotics, and AI. So all of these shows that from the earlier stage, technology really contributed to making China a manufacturing powerhouse, and for future industries, you see that Chinese innovation and readiness to really be a leader in these industries as well.
Ovigwe, do you see China's technological advances trickling over into Africa?
Definitely. In fact, technology is one of those areas where there's a clear win-win outcome in China-Africa relations. So when we think of, again, going back to, telecom, you would see that majority of Africa's, current 4G infrastructure, has been provided by, or it's built against or with Huawei's 4G equipment. And that is true for many, many African countries. We also still see that Huawei investment, ZTE investment in countries like Cameroon, where with State Telecommunication Camtel, I think, they were able to build a very sophisticated, modern, data center that empowers and drives innovation, and also allows the government to leverage on technology for security and on other areas. So in fintech is also one area where Chinese technological penetration or uptake has really contributed. For instance, you will see that you will hear so many reports about Africa's fintech potential. But that is only possible because of access to electronic devices like smartphones. And those smartphones, majority of the market is supplied by Transsion. So Techno, Infinix, these are the brands under that Transsion umbrella, and they control 40% of Africa's smartphone market share as at Q3 of 2020. So you have other players in like Oppo, Vivo, and Huawei as well, providing these devices that allow Africans to actually carry out that fintech. So in space, of course, there also is that trickling down or that sharing. In 2019, remember, Ethiopia launched its first remote sensing satellite, which from Chinese Long Mark 4B rocket. And the Chinese Academy of Space Technology developed that satellite in collaboration with 21 Ethiopian technicians and engineers. So the following year, there was also the second Ethiopian satellite was launched, and that also shows that in various tech subsectors, whether it's in telecom, fintech, and also in space, which is very, very important for African economies and where they are really lagging behind, you see that China-Africa cooperation really, playing a crucial role.
Avigwe, you've mentioned quite a few things, but how else can African countries take advantage of China's technological advances in order to fuel their own growth in critical sectors?
Yeah, I think one area where I'm really looking forward to more to happen within China-Africa Tech Cooperation is in energy. And there's a huge energy poverty in Africa, and China is in the world leader in solar energy technology. And in Africa, I would say is the world leader in solar energy potential, given our that we have so many days of the year where we have steady sunshine. Yet there is still energy poverty, and as we move toward that renewable, that clean green transition to power Africa, Africa's economy, you see that there is room for so much more to be done even within traditional energy sectors like dam, hydropower, and all. But solar energy is that area where China is really a global leader, and Africa has that so much potential. Already we see countries like Morocco, really moving forward with solar energy investments and cooperation. But for many other African countries that have that solar energy potential, it is very important that African countries begin to look closely at how they can tap into Chinese ingenuity and capacity in this area. Also in 5G, because 5G, for instance, now is the next frontier in telecommunication, and many African countries would also need to upgrade their infrastructure for the telecom sector to really keep up. So you would see, for instance, all African countries and their telecom providers would also be looking for Huawei's equipment, because Huawei is a world leader, and also when you look at our price, it really fits into the budget of many of these telecom providers. So there are also sectors like manufacturing. African countries looking to become manufacturing hubs, like Ethiopia, for instance. So a lot of manufacturing base is built on certain technologies to carry out the manufacturing process. And China, having so much decades of experience as the world's leader or world's manufacturing powerhouse, it will be very, very impactful if African countries can also see tap from that experience and those equipments that we can get from China to expedite our industrialization agenda.
Ovigwe, thank you so much for that. Ovigwe Ogwego, a policy advisor at Development Reimagined, which is an international development consultancy, and he was speaking to us a lot via Zoom.